Actually, it's nothing. And then we make it into something like, oh wow, we went on the beach and we went on this trip and we went swimming, and we make it into a big fanfare where we're having a great time, and this is the reason we're alive. It's so intense. It's really changed my life. It's so fabulous, and everybody should do this. Actually, it's nothing. What's the big deal? You went to the beach, you went swimming. What's the big deal if you were Saint-Tropez, or you were in Maldives, or you were in Bora Bora, or you were in Langkawi, or you were in California? And what's the difference? If you were on the beach and you were just laying there, you were just on the beach laying there getting a suntan. It's nothing more. But when we make such a big deal about it, we make nothing become something. When nothing becomes something, it means that we really don't have nothing. That's why we have to pretend it is something. Today, in the afternoon, I was kind of inspired to write a poem, and I came up with this poem. When I'm inspired, it takes me very fast timing to write a poem. It took me about 10 minutes. But when I'm not inspired, or when I have to think, it can take a long time to come out with something. This one came out really quite well, and I call it Essential Thoughts. And I want to explain a little bit about it. I don't want to get too deep because there are all types of audience out there. So when it gets a little too deep, I might lose some people who can't follow along. Anyway, it's called Essential Thoughts, the poem, and let me read it through. When we surrender what we fear, then the light shines through. When we dissolve our past, we can look into the future. The future will become the past, so make now count for the future. When we think of ourselves as priority, then we can never find peace. When we think of others spontaneously, then we find freedom now and here. When we find pleasure in materialism, then our pleasure will end in pain. When we find truth in pain, then we realize it was in our mind. When we are insecure because of our past, make amends, and we can be secure because of the present. When we enjoy nothing made into something, then something that is worthy becomes nothing. Contemplate the lack of real control in our lives. That is the truth of our situation to embrace. Surrendering nothing for something, don't grasp at nothing thinking it's something. Buddhas have shared thus, it's up to us to capture our life's essence as shared. Semrimchi, Kuala Lumpur, July 14, 2013. The first line is, when we surrender what we fear, then the light shines through. Everybody's afraid of something. Everybody's afraid of they're not good enough, they're not pretty enough, they're not smart enough, they're not educated enough, they're not rich enough, they're not capable enough, they're not thin enough, they're not strong enough, they're not whatever, not enough. Everybody is insecure about something. And we have to think about the things that we can do. Even if the things that we cannot do are more than the things we can do, then by doing what we can do, we learn, we grow, we progress, and slowly the things that we can do outshines all the things that we cannot do. And the reason for that is because when we surrender our fear of failure, our fear of criticism, our fear of not achieving, our fear of how other people think of us, our fear of looking bad, when we surrender that, we can only win. Because if we don't surrender that and we are hiding behind our fear and we don't do something because of our fear, then we already lose, because everybody knows we're afraid. So if we're not doing it because we have fear, it's been revealed that we have fear, so we already kind of lost face and we already kind of not look good because we're not doing it. But you see, with all of our insecurities, if we do it, we have nothing to lose, because we're starting from ground zero. Since we're starting from ground zero, why not let go of the fear and just do it? Let's put it this way. Who hasn't failed? Who hasn't fallen flat on their face? Who hasn't made mistakes? Who hasn't had to repeat what they had done until they became better? Some people many times. So therefore, that fear that we have is what holds us back. It's not what people say. It's not what people think. It's not our past. It is nothing to do with anyone out there. It has to do with us. And if we can let go of this fear, and we should let go of this fear, we have nothing to lose. And what I like is we're starting at ground zero from nothing. Since we're starting from nothing, there is nothing to lose. So just let go of the fear and go and do what you need to do. And then the light shines through. What's the light? The light is success. The light is trying. The light is admiration. The light is praise. That light is people admiring you. You become an inspiration. You yourself become an inspiration for yourself. You yourself find the strength in you to be more. So the first times when we surrender what we fear, then the light shines through. Number two, the next line, when we dissolve our past, we can look into the future. All of us, some of us, many of us have had difficult pasts. I don't think anyone on this earth has not experienced some difficulties in their past. And because of the difficulties we had experienced, we relive it. We replay it. We go over and over it in our mind. And then when we're put in a similar scenario, then we think it's going to be a similar outcome. But you know, as time goes on, as we get older and we get more experience, as we understand the world better, we understand people, and we understand ourselves better, even if we're in the same situation, we have control to make it different. We have control to bring it to another level. We have control to make it have a better, positive outcome. So therefore, holding on to the past, we are not able to look into the future, because the future becomes the past. Whatever we are in fear of, whatever we are holding on to, whatever we are afraid of, will keep reliving itself now and in the future. So therefore, what am I saying here? When we dissolve our past, meaning just let go of it. It's not the same. You have friends, you have different situations, you are older, you're wiser, you have more experience, you have support, because you're not in the same situation as before. You should dissolve your experiences in the past and look into the future. So therefore, if you dissolve your past, the negative past, and hold on to the good parts, then you can look into the future. That means you do have a future. If you don't dissolve the past and you hold on to it, there is no future, because you will live the past and the future, and the future will be just like the past. There is no future. It'll be just repetitions, redundancy, more sufferings. So therefore, let go of, dissolve the past in order to look into the future. All right? Now the next line. The future will become the past, so make now count for the future. The future will become the past means everything that will happen when we look back will become the past again. So make now count for the future. That means whatever we do now is very important. Don't say, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it next time. Don't always talk about future tenses. Don't always talk about it will happen in the future, or you'll change in the future, or you'll do something later. Because if you keep saying that, what happens is that when tomorrow comes and that's the future, or next week comes or next year comes, we're still in the same situation. So the future becomes our past. So if we want our future to be something different and more, we have to make the now count. Meaning we must put the effort in now. We must change now, transform now, make the effort now. Let go of our fears now. We must immediately change our direction, our projections, our fears, and what's holding us back now. So therefore, if we change it now, we're making the now, the current, the moment now count for the future. Then our future will be different than the past. So the current moment has meaning. We're living in the moment. When we think of ourselves as priority, then we think we can never find peace. Then we can never find peace. When we think of ourselves as priority, meaning that you are not the underdog, you are not the lowest, you are not the worst, you are not the nobody. When we think of others more, how we feel is how other people feel. There's more of them and one of us. So when we are courteous to others, we are honest with others, we keep our promises to others, we have integrity, and we are what we say, and we are genuine and real, and we always tell the truth, then we are making other people a priority. When we are deceptive, when we lie, when we don't keep our promises, when we always are two-faced, or we're schismatic, or always saying things that we don't really do, we don't carry out, we're halfway about it, we're very dramatic. If we're like that, we're not making other people our priority, because why? Then the people around us will suffer. The people around us will be ungrounded and unhappy and confused. So how do you make other people a priority? You make others a priority by being courteous, being honest, having integrity, keeping our promises. Don't lie, don't trick them, don't cheat them. This is how we do it. So therefore, we will have peace when we do that, because we will create no enemies. We won't have anyone that will harm us. We don't have to keep thinking about what we've said, or we have to cover a lie. We have peace. So therefore, the phrase that says, when we think of ourselves as priority, then we can never find peace. That means if we always think of me, we don't care about others. We cheat, we lie, we steal, we don't keep our promises, we're always breaking our word, then we can never have peace. If we do the opposite, we can have peace. Next line. When we think of others spontaneously, then we find freedom now and here. That is exactly the opposite of the previous line. It's the same explanation. When we are respectful of others, courteous of others, caring of others, and we don't hurt them and cheat and lie, and we don't damage others, we have freedom now. Why do we have freedom? Because we're respected, we're loved. We'll have genuine friends. We have peace of mind. We don't have to keep protecting ourselves. We don't have to cover anything we've done negatively. So we have peace right now. We have freedom now. What freedom? Freedom of mind, peace of mind. The next line. When we find pleasure in materialism, then our pleasures will end in pain. Does that mean that we can't be successful or we can't achieve? No, it doesn't mean that. Of course we need to pay our bills. Of course we need to maintain, take care of our family. Of course we need to, maintain our lifestyle. But while maintaining our lifestyle, we shouldn't think that that is the goal in life. Just to be comfortable, just to have the house, just to have the car, just to have the family, just to have the clothes, the brand, the purse, the bag, the wallet, the watch, just to have that cruise, the yacht. And if we keep thinking that this is what's going to make us happy, there are thousands upon tens of thousands of examples, past and present, that does not make us happy. How many times does this need to be said? Materialism doesn't bring happiness. Materialism supports in our pursuit of happiness, but it itself is not happiness. Materialism and having all materialistic needs fulfilled does not make us happy. Materialistic needs fulfilled is a tool to achieve happiness. Then from there, we can go on to spiritual practices. We can read deeper. We can investigate into ourselves. We can find ourselves. So materialism is an aid, or materialistic goals fulfilled. Let me rephrase that. Materialistic goals fulfilled is an aid to happiness, but not happiness. So we shouldn't work towards that and think about that alone. So when we find pleasure in materialism means that's all we live for, then our pleasure will end in pain. Why will it end in pain? Because the people who will be attracted to you because you are wealthy, or you are beautiful, or you are perfect, or you are rich, or you have that yacht, or you have the branded items. The people who will be attracted to you and gravitate towards you are not gravitating for you. And eventually, you will realize that if you have not already. And that's where the loneliness and the happiness and pain sets in, and bitterness, because they're not there for you. And if you are attracting people through this, and just this, talking about it on social media, Facebook and tweets, and telling people where you go, you go to the gym, you go on trips, you bought this branded item, you got this new car, you got all that, who do you think you'll attract? Who do you think you will nurture? Who do you think will be gravitating towards you? People who have like minds, but they're not there for you. So therefore, when we find pleasure in materialism, then our pleasure will end in pain. That means whatever so-called pleasure that we derive temporarily will end in pain, because if for any reason we don't have those things anymore, then we don't have anything inside to attract. Nothing in us is there to attract. So if we have the wealth, that's wonderful, but we shouldn't stop there. We have to develop the inside. Next one, when we find truth in pain, then we realize it was in our mind. What does that mean when we find truth in pain? Truth in pain means the reality of the world, the reality of our bodies, the reality of existence, the reality of everything that exists is decay. Our bodies will age. Our health will become unhealthy. Our bodies will die. You know, a clean room becomes dirty. Delicious food becomes rotten and smelly. A pretty boy becomes an old man. A pretty lady becomes an old woman. Flawless skin becomes full of flaws. You know, the dry, sunny, beautiful day becomes a rainy, cloudy day that snows, that rains. Everything will decay. And when it decays and it makes us unhappy or makes us suffer, then we're not realizing the true nature of how things exist. And the true nature of how things exist is that everything will decay, and everything will be taken away, and everything will end. All our friends will be gone. All of our loved ones will be gone. All of what we are attached to will be gone. When those are gone, that is the truth. The pain that we feel is the truth. And the very reason we feel the pain is because we were going in the wrong direction with the items that we are attached to. So in the very things that we thought that brought us happiness actually brings us pain. And so there's truth in pain. What's the truth? That everything will bring pain. If we understand that truth, then what happens? We realized that pain was in our mind. That our projections was what made us think our bodies will last forever, our beauty will last forever, our wealth is the ultimate epitome of happiness, that our friends are going to be around forever, and that all food is perfect, and our living environment will remain as it is. One of the reasons ghosts remain on, if you believe in those, is that they want things to remain the way they have perceived it to remain or projected it to remain, and therefore even when they die, they remain in that place reliving over and over their own projections. And some of us are living ghosts because we don't live our lives, we don't look at the truth, and we don't look at what's around us, but we live in a projected world thinking that it is perfect and protecting that imperfect perfection or that false perfection. So therefore, when we find truth in the pain, which is that everything will decay, then we realize it was in our mind. Why was the pain in our mind? Because we expected everything to be perfect, because it's not. It's opposite of the truth. It's opposite of what really exists. Therefore, our pain will end at that moment when we realize this. We are insecure because of our past. Make amends and we can be secure because of the present. Many things we've done in the past we're insecure of. Many things we should have done in the past we have not done. Because of the many things we have not done, as time rolls on, as time goes on, all the things that we should have done will catch up with us. Let's say that we were supposed to write an assignment or practice our writing, and we haven't done that. When we don't do that, when the time comes we have to write something and everybody can write it and produce it and we're the only one that cannot, we're kind of stuck. We look bad, we're embarrassed, and we got to catch up. Let's say that we're a forgetful person and we leave the lights on, we leave the gas stove on, we leave the doors unlocked, and we keep doing this, and we rely on people to lock the door for us and shut off the gas and shut off the electricity for us. Well, one day we're going to be living with a group of people who are already older, and they're not going to accept us. They wouldn't want to live with us. They don't want to tolerate and put up with this, and we'll end up alone. So my point is that whatever we have been insecure about in the past, we have to make amends now by catching up now, improving ourselves now, and becoming better now. When we improve ourselves now and catch up now, then we can be secure about our present. That means we don't have to be scared anymore. And we can be secure about our future. Okay? So our past always catches up, what we have done and what we should have done and we did not. That's the meaning of that phrase. So don't let it catch up. Or when it catches up, make amends. Then you'll be secure about your present. Next one. When we enjoy nothing made into something, then something that is worthy becomes nothing. When we enjoy nothing made into something means when we make a big deal about food, we make a big deal about a party, we make a big deal about makeup, we make a big deal about a dress, a suit, a car, we make a big deal about a girlfriend, we make a big deal about a jewelry, traveling, we make a big deal about new friends. When we make a big deal about this, it's actually nothing. We'll find new jewelry, we change girlfriends, our body will age, we will get fat. We'll find different foods. We'll find a better place to hang out in. So whenever those are all nothing. Food, places, travel, fun, money, social friends, they're really nothing. Nothing doesn't mean that they're nothing. It means that they have no ultimate long-term meaning. They probably won't even be around. So therefore, actually, it's nothing. And then we make it into something like, oh wow, we went on the beach and we went on this trip and we went swimming, and we make it into a big fanfare and we're having a great time, and this is the reason we're alive. It's so intense. It's really changed my life. It's so fabulous and everybody should do this. Actually, it's nothing. What's the big deal? You went to the beach, you went swimming. What's the big deal if you were Saint-Tropez, or you were in Maldives, or you were in Bora Bora, or you were in Langkawi, or you were in California? And what's the difference if you were on the beach and you were just laying there? You were just on the beach laying there getting a suntan. It's nothing more. But when we make such a big deal about it, we make nothing become something. When nothing becomes something, it means that we really don't have nothing. That's why we have to pretend it is something. Then something that is worthy becomes nothing. Then something that is worthy, for example, being loyal to friends, our spiritual practice, the instructions that we receive from our teacher, our Dharma practice, our mind training practices, our training of the 8 verses of thought transformation, being humble, being generous, being compassionate, being forgiving, being tolerant, purifying our karma, achieving the highest state of our human potential, which is enlightenment. That is something. That is worthy. And so when we don't focus on something that is worthy becomes nothing. So our practice, our meditations, our studies, our mind transformations, our Guru devotion, our tantric practices, our commitments, the 8 verses of thought transformation, Lamrim, all that, it becomes nothing. And that's replaced by eating, food, traveling, the gym, fun, relationships. So actually, the fun, the gym, the food, the relationships are really nothing. They bring us nowhere. Does that mean we're not allowed to do them? It doesn't mean we're not allowed to do them. It means our focus shouldn't be that. It means that we can have that, but our focus should be inside. It should be inside. So therefore, we should have those outer things. But those outer things, we need to realize the truth. The truth is that they're actually nothing. There's not much meaning in those. Not much meaning for us now, not much meaning when we die, not much meaning for the bardo, not much meaning for our future lives. They affect us none for our future lives. In this life, we don't remember anything from our previous lives. We don't remember many things that even 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So whatever we've done in 10, 20 years ago, we don't remember much. Similarly, 10, 20 years from now, we won't remember many things we've done now. Okay? So therefore, something, when we enjoy nothing, when we enjoy it, it means something that is really nothing. And we make it into something so big. It's our fantasies, it's our projections. It leads us nowhere, it leads people around us nowhere. It brings us no happiness, no fulfillment. And if we always make something into nothing, something that has value into nothing, Dharma practice, Dharma commitments, integrity, kindness, generosity, love, forgiveness. If we make those into nothing, then those are really something that becomes nothing. So therefore, the phrase there is, when we enjoy nothing made into something, then something that is worthy becomes nothing. That means when nothing becomes something, then something that has value and worth becomes nothing. Then we can lose the Dharma. We can lose our practice, we can lose our transformation, we can lose ourselves. That's the meaning. Contemplate the lack of real control in our lives. That is the truth of our situation to embrace. We don't have control in our lives. We think we have control in our lives. We have no control of our lifespan, of our health. There are people who go to the gym regularly and they keep fit and they're slim, they're full of muscle, and they get cancer. They have an accident. Someone runs them over. They get an insect bite. 1,001 things can happen to them that they have no control. And we can really just, set up a business, work very hard, and overnight can be bankrupt. We can be cheated. We can be lied to. The relationship that we hold on so strongly to can end. I know people who go through relationships like clothes, one after another, yet they find no satisfaction. They're not bad people, but they don't find satisfaction because they're looking for something on the outside that they can't find, which is on the inside. It's on the inside, but they're looking for it on the outside. And what happens is that we don't have any control of our lives. And when we say we have control, we're countering the truth, and therefore we need to embrace the truth. We have no control. How do we get control? By doing Dharma practice. When we do Dharma practice, when we develop our mind, when we overcome our fears, when we overcome our karma, when we overcome our habituations that are negative, when we overcome our deep-seated insecurities, then we gain control. What control? We gain control of our mind. When we gain control of our mind, we don't necessarily gain control of our environment, but whatever happens to us, we stay in control. So we don't have control over our minds, over our environment, over our lives, over our health, over the people around us, over our own thoughts. We don't have control. Because we don't have control, we are projecting happiness where happiness doesn't exist. We need to embrace the truth of that situation. And when we do, we go deeper into our minds. We develop our minds. We develop fortitude. When we promise something, we stick all the way. When we find something difficult to do, we go ahead and do it. When we find something very hard, we go ahead and take it one step at a time. We don't give up. We're loyal. We have fortitude. We develop our mind. We become generous. We read more Dharma. We understand more Dharma. And we integrate the Dharma into our mind. And Dharma doesn't become something that's nicely read, but when put into action, we find it difficult and then we run. We don't do that. When we don't do that, then we are embracing the truth. Then we will gain control. We will gain control of what? Our minds. When we gain control of our minds, we don't gain control of our environment necessarily, but whatever happens in our environment, we still stay in control, not a negative control, in a peaceful, quiet state where we can solve the issues. And that's the purpose of Dharma practice at the moment, at our level. Then, surrendering nothing for something. Don't grasp at nothing thinking it is something. Surrendering nothing. Surrendering nothing for something. Don't grasp at nothing thinking it is something. Surrendering nothing for something means what? We don't want to lose our freedom, inverted commas. We don't want to lose our laziness. We don't want to work hard. We don't want to put in effort. We don't want to hear rejection. We don't want to hear people criticizing us. We don't want to have to go and beg. We don't want to have to work long hours. We don't want to be tired. We don't want any of that. We want to surrender nothing. Yet we want to get praise. We want the fame. We want the name. We want people to respect us. We want the money. We want the attainments. We want our minds to grow. We want everything to go right. So when we want all the things that we want, but yet we do nothing for it, that is the meaning of surrendering nothing for something. That's not possible. Don't grasp at nothing thinking it's something. That line means what? Don't grasp at nothing thinking it is something. The actual nothings in our life are grasping at permanency, are grasping at continuity of permanency, are grasping at our bodies, our looks, our money, our wealth, our status. They're grasping at our environment, our relationships, our children. The grasping of our achievements actually is nothing. Nothing not meaning that you are nothing or what you have done is nothing. Nothing meaning that it can be taken away at any time. The reality of it is that you can't keep it. It can be taken away at the time of death, or someone else can succeed and break the record, and then you become number 2 and not number 1 anymore. That the truth of it is that it is really nothing. So there's no reason for us to be arrogant about it or think we're great or think we're something. So don't grasp at nothing thinking it is something. Meaning, we cannot surrender nothing of ourselves to gain something. And that's the wrong view, to want something and not give anything, not surrender anything, not transform anything, not think differently, not have different types of mental directions. That's wrong view. And then the grasp at nothing, thinking, oh wow, having fun, parties, games, friends, relationship, that is really something, when it's actually nothing. Because in the end, all that will be gone and we have achieved nothing. Okay, this is not criticism of our lifestyle. This is more about the truth of the way we live and how we grasp at things and how we project things are something when it's nothing. The last is Buddhas have thus shared. It's up to us to capture our life's essence as shared. What does that mean? This is what the Buddha has taught. This is what enlightened beings have taught. This is what the wise have taught, the sages, the philosophers, the great men and women, the great teachers, the Mahatmas, the great awakened beings, elders, people who have gone through a lot, successful people. These are taught by the Buddha and shared as thus. And if we want to capture our life's essence, meaning to use our life in a positive way, to get some real meaning and real benefit from living and being alive, more than just eating and existing, then we should grab onto what has been shared by the Buddha. And we should really practice it and go all the way with what the Buddha has taught. Hence, this is my poem and its explanation. Let me read it to you one more time. Perhaps now it'll have a little bit more meaning. Essential thoughts. When we surrender what we fear, then the light shines through. When we dissolve our past, we can look into the future. The future will become the past, so make now count for the future. When we think of ourselves as priority, then we can never find peace. When we think of others spontaneously, then we find freedom now and here. When we find pleasure in materialism, then our pleasures will end in pain. When we find truth in pain, then we realize it was in our mind. When we are insecure because of our past. Make amends and we can be secure because of the present. When we enjoy nothing made into something, then something that is worthy becomes nothing. Contemplate the lack of control in our lives. That is the truth of our situation to embrace. Surrendering nothing for something. Don't grasp at nothing thinking it's something. Buddhas have shared thus. It is up to us to capture our life's essence as shared. Thank you very much.